Well, a very good evening to you, race fans. Welcome back. It is Tuesday night, and that, of course, means it's time for the Alliance Sim Racing V8 Supercars series, proudly presented to you by West Automotive and Quantum Tint Solutions, and brought to you right here by Simple Racing Broadcasts. It's lovely to have you along again for round 7 here at Jerez de la Frontera. We, of course, are heading around Circuito de Jerez, and I'm sure I've butchered that, so my sincere apologies to anyone who happens to be from the gorgeous country of Spain joining us this evening. Tonight the grid is, of course, here in southern Spain at a very technical track indeed. Certainly one that will challenge the drivers in a Gen 3 supercar. There's plenty of corners here that I'm sure are going to give these drivers no end of grief this evening. I am joined once again in the commentary booth by Mr. Josh Harris. My name is, of course, Jared Cole, and Josh, great to be back with you again this week. I tell you what, Jerez is going to be a very, very tricky race tonight.
Yeah, absolutely it is, Jared. Good evening. Welcome along to everybody who is joining us at home, and thank you very much for having me once again. It's going to be challenging. It's an incredibly challenging circuit, this one here at Jerez, but if anyone can tackle it, it is our friends at ASR. I'm pretty keen to see what's gonna eventuate. I will say, Jared, that the weather that we can see there, currently 29 degrees and a little bit windy. I have a feeling that wind may blow some showers through at some point tonight.
Yeah, and certainly in earlier practice we did see a fairly damp track, so there's still a few puddles around the place at the moment. 44-degree track temp is a hell of a starting point, that's for sure. It's going to be a little bit slippery underfoot for the drivers, but yeah, the forecast is for showers later on, so we're going to have to keep an eye on the radar tonight. 2 races this evening, of course. Race 1, a 10-lap sprint, followed by a 25-lap second race with 2 compulsory pit stops, 50 litres in the tank on the starting line, and a 50% fuel capacity limit for your pit stops as well. So drivers will, of course, have to think very carefully about how they approach those 2 compulsory stops tonight. As qualifying goes on in the background, a bit of lone qualifying action that we will wait on the results of. G'day Ross, welcome to the chat, mate. Good to have you along on the Simple channel. Let's take a look, though, at where these drivers stand after 6 out of 10 rounds so far. And the championship battle up front looking still reasonably close in a lot of respects. Wayne Walker out in front on 1,433 points. Scott Gamble on 1,335 with Evolution Racing Team. And how's that for timing? G'day Sean Vandermeulen. How are you this evening? Mate, hope the recovery is coming along okay again this week. And yeah, hoping to see a bit more from ERT this evening, of course. Jamie Dyke and Ken Latta, both from Fishy Motorsports, they are battling it out for the 3rd step on the podium. I'm sure, though, they'll be working together to try and get both of them up there ahead of Scott Gamble. Don't count Matt Vanderkraan out either. He's not that far behind. Neither is Mark Boynton, who I know had a pretty decent little race last night as well, from what I caught on the vet stream as well. Michael Stewart in 7th is holding off Luke Allman in 8th, and then, of course, Stephen Varga finds himself in a little bit of no man's land before Rushworth and Clifton fight over the last place in the top 10. Still plenty of points, though, Josh. We've got 3 rounds to go after this one, as well as the points from this evening. Wayne Walker not quite out of the woods yet, I wouldn't think.
No, he's not, but you know, it's a nice place to be, isn't it? Not only is he atop the standings, but he is also, you know, he's got a little gap. So we are getting down to the business end of the season. It is all, you know, becoming more and more to play for, and I'm certainly excited to see how he goes. I haven't had a chance to look much at the times currently happening in qualifying, but I did notice that, as usual, Wayne Walker was pretty darn quick in practice, and if those showers do roll through that we're expecting to see, I'm pretty excited to see how he goes in the wet as well.
Yeah, it'll be interesting if we do get that across. Tim Lawson checking in as well. G'day, mate. Report is apparently clear for the main race this evening. Yeah, look, we'll see how it all eventuates. And of course, Thursday night is looking like a very, very interesting one over in the Vets edition of this, where I believe the forecast is for an absolute downpour. So I think for these drivers who are treating tonight as a bit of a practice event, perhaps, It's probably not going to quite replicate what they'll be racing later this week, but that is, of course, the joy of weather, isn't it? Even in a simulated environment, not every round is going to be the same. And tonight, the drivers have just a little bit of clear air, it seems, for the moment. We will, of course, do our best to keep an eye on the radar this evening. As I said before, the track looked a little damp in places, but has dried up fairly quickly after practice session and into qualifying. Josh, this track, we spoke briefly about it last night, of course, before we jumped in this evening. It's not one you're super familiar with, is it?
No, absolutely not. I've actually never turned a lap at Jerez, and unfortunately, I am away from my simulator at the moment, so I didn't even get a chance to jump in tonight and do my customary laps. But you know, I'm familiar with it. It's a pretty well-pronounced circuit in world motorsport. Very technical. A couple of really interesting passing opportunities, and I'm really excited to get to watch these guys up close, show us just how it's done.
Absolutely. Only a couple of minutes left in the qualifying session. Just a couple of drivers finishing off their final laps as we wait for the grid results to come through. I can tell you that most of the times that we've seen around the place have been somewhere around the 146, 147 mark. I did a little bit of testing myself last night and was running, not consistently, of course. If anyone's seen me try and drive a supercar, it's putting back-to-back laps together that is the tricky part for me. But you know, got a couple of 149s out. These guys usually run about 3 or 4 seconds faster than I do, so a 46 sounds about right for the kind of pace we'd expect here. I believe the top time recorded on Garage 61 at the moment sits at about 143, if memory serves, which is absolutely ridiculously quick.
It is, but one thing to remember is that these guys operate on a fixed setup, and whilst a fixed setup is great for ensuring that everybody has a good solid base and certainly cutting down that time, we don't see drivers having to go away and you know, spend their whole week building a setup. It does mean that there's often compromises, and I wouldn't suggest there's any driver in the field that thinks that the fixed setup is perfect. And so, you know, I wouldn't look too far into the difference. A lot of those really fast times on Garage 61 as well, Jared. People tend to shoot for the top of the table there, and if you have a look, they're often pretty fantastic conditions to set quick laps, which is not necessarily what we've got here tonight.
No, the track temps alone are going to make tonight very, very challenging. And you can see from the track layout, we know that the Gen3 Supercars don't like fast-flowing corners. We've got plenty of them here this evening. A couple of them with elevation changes right in the middle, which will, of course, make it very interesting. Qualifying is done. We're about ready to go racing. This is how they stack up for race number 1 here this evening. Scott Gamble takes pole for ERT, just ahead of Wayne Walker, just a half-tenth in it on the front row. Mark Poynton in third with Dean Logsdale alongside, then Rain Campbell and Daniel Hall on row number 3. Paul McKee and Luke Allman behind them. Michael Whiting making a showing in the top 10 here as well, with Andrew Rushworth taking a 10th spot for race number 1. We go further back through the grid. Jay McKnight and Mick Clifton just outside that top 10. Rick Vigar and Alistair Bales ahead of Troy Sipple and Phil Manuel. Then John Latham and Peter Sattler ahead of Andrew Johnston and Todd Martin. We've got Craig Rose and Simon Farrington ahead of Ashley Hall and Ken Latta, then James Hardy and Damon Fisher. And a name that we haven't seen for a little while, Darren Walden, was in the session earlier. I don't know if he's racing tonight. Does look like he's gridded up. So welcome back, Darren. Good to have you back in the field. Tim Nicol, of course, driving the safety car this evening. So hopefully we won't be calling on him at any point. Let's go down to the grid and get a bit of a view as these drivers start to line up ready to take on race number 1 here.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll see. It looks like a nice big long run down into turn 1 here at Jerez, and it's going to be exciting to see how these guys deal with it. Not the widest track in the world, as we can see here, so a bit of grass on the verges. The opportunity for a bit of shenanigans off the start line, Jared, and it's going to be exciting to see. Pretty short little sprint here to start the night off, so it's going to be an interesting affair, no doubt about it.
Yeah, absolutely will be. Particularly on cold tyres, this is going to be really, really tricky. Tim Lawson making pretty well the same comment. This is it's a tough track when it comes to tyre life. Again, because of the amount of high speed and flowing kind of corners. There's a couple of heavy braking zones, most notably down the back straight, and of course at the end of this front straight, where we're likely to see a fair bit of overtaking effort this evening. But it will depend on, of course, everyone surviving the first few laps here. Look, anyone's guess, honestly. Let me know what you think is likely to happen here tonight, folks. I don't quite know how to pick it this evening, and I guess we'll find out soon enough just whether Wayne Walker has what it takes to hold Scott Gamble off here tonight. Poynton and Logsdale right behind them as well. Who's going to get the start that they're after to get out in front for this 10-lap race here? About 1:45 expected per lap, so 15 odd minutes of racing, you'd have to think, as we get ready to go. Lights come up, we're under starters orders. And here we go. Scott Gamble spins the wheels off the line as we head down the main straight. You can see already Jamie Dyke, a fantastic start as we head down towards turn one. A big dive there from, who is that? That Rain Campbell in the orange tonight. He's changed the livery up just a little. And,
it is Rain Campbell, yeah.
It is. He's gone across into the orange colours again. I think we did see that perhaps the week prior. We've got one of the what's happened there? I'm trying to work out what has happened to Lon McKee to get turned around.
I do believe that was Jamie McKnight into the back of Lon McKee. Unfortunately, a bit of a first lap shenanigans that we often see these cars. Very difficult to get them pulled up into that first corner, and I have a feeling that Jamie McKnight has just made a bit of a mistake there and spun Lon McKee from what I noticed.
Entirely possible, as Wayne Walker leads the pack through turn 7 and turn 8 out of the very imaginatively named turn 6, which is of course Dry Sack. Don't ask me where it comes from, I can't tell you. Yeah,
I think we'll just leave that one entirely alone.
We absolutely will. Turn 9, Angel Nieto, the namesake of this circuit. Of course, this is the Moto layout, so none of that nasty chicane here tonight. You can see the cones in place, guiding the drivers around the outside, but that turns this into a long corner for these supercars. And Paul and Logsdale side by side for 5th at the moment. The rest of the pack just starting to settle in. Wayne Walker looking fairly comfortable for the moment as we start to get into the flow of it for race number 1. All in all, a reasonably clean kind of start. Let's start to check out, though, some of the action that is starting to shape up here with a number of these drivers. Logsdale and Hall still in it for 5th and 6th right now. And, of course, Luke Allman right there behind them. Walker, Point and Campbell out in front with Scott Gamble. This is the second pack, effectively, at this stage. But obviously, just getting started. We've got a little bit of a battle going on further back with one of the Quantum cars as well. Todd Martin getting the move done on Phil Manuel. I still keep wanting to call him Manuel. I don't know why. I'm sorry, Phil. It's Phil Manuel. He's told us once before.
He also said that we can call him just about anything that we'd like to, and he'll probably answer. So I don't think it's the biggest problem in the world, Jared. One thing that I will just go back and note, you did call out at the start of the race that Jamie Dyke had a fantastic start. I have a feeling, unless my eyes are deceiving me, no Jamie Dyke in the field tonight, Jared. But Mick Whiting in the namesake of Fishy Motorsport, He does run a green car, very similar to Jamie Dyke's. Different coloured fish on the side and different coloured wheels, of course. But yeah, I do believe that we did misattribute Mick Whiting's start to Jamie Dyke, which is entirely unfair, given that it appeared to be a fantastic start for Mick there. It's a great start to his race.
You're not wrong, and you can see him just in the background here. So apologies to you, Mick. It's a fantastic start. And look, I will plead ignorance. The front of your car looked very, very similar to Mr. Dykes. And without the view of the fish on the side, I can't be held responsible, is what I'm going with. Ken Latta and Troy Sipple now starting to battle it out a little here for 15th. Peter Sattler from Angry Birds right on the back. Geez, that final corner is so slow. It is very, very tough to not want to get on the throttle as you see the straight open up in front of you, but very easy to put it sideways there. Sipple trying to hold on to the back of Latta just ahead. Rick Vigo and Alistair Bales also just trying to sort out their positioning at the moment, with Latham on the back in the Shadow Racing entry. Alistair Bales not having the best run over the last few rounds, but certainly still got some pace about him. As we take a look towards the back of the field, Phil Manuel's just lost the place to Ashley Hall. The privateer starting to move up through the field into 23rd. We still have this battle pack going on though at the moment, lined up behind Dean Logsdale. Ormond Whiting right there, Rushworth and Clifton not too far off the back. These guys just trying to stay in touch. At the moment, Daniel Hall looks like he's got probably about the ideal position. A second in front, a second behind, but a little bit of clear air to play with. Andrew Listener coming in with a little bit of trivia for us. The term sack was historically used to refer to Jerez wines, and dry sack was a specific brand of sherry that was not too sweet and not too dry. The corner's name is a nod to the region's wine. I don't know that look, I'm not a wine drinker, so I don't know about putting any kind of wine referred to as sack in my mouth, honestly, Andrew.
I also want to say that if Andrew had to Google that to get anything, he is braver than I am. There is absolutely no doubt about it. Interestingly, now we see Jamie McKnight into the pit, so I don't have access to the RC radio that I often listen into, so unsure whether that's a drive-through for that first corner incident. We do now see...
That's the black flag, right? We do get that info on our timing tower now. The big moment there. That's Latham. It's come together in turn one. He's going to have to wait a little while for traffic to come past. Just a bit of contact with Ken Latta by the look of things. Let's go back and take another look. Let's see what's happened. Latta's gone to put the move on into turn one. Big look inside. Has another look. In the end, both just kind of turning each other a little bit. Very, very lucky to get through. Was Sips there?
He was, and I was just about to make mention of Ken Latta when we saw that shot live, Jared. I didn't notice what happened with Ken in qualifying, but he certainly qualified far further down the field than we're used to. He is already up 10 positions in just 4 laps. Now, obviously, under a bit of a cloud now. Whether that move is deemed to be an issue by race control or not, he may face a penalty throughout the back end of this race. But certainly, currently, he's up 10 spots in only 4 laps, and he is absolutely trying to charge as far forward as he can so that he makes sure that he has the best starting position possible for our longer race tonight.
We go back, we take a look at the start here. Scott Gamble just lighting the tyres up. Probably about the worst start we've seen from him so far, but look at the number of positions it's cost him. Rain Campbell got an absolute flyer off the line, and Scott Gamble finds himself well back in the field right from the start tonight. Not exactly what he had in mind.
No, look, I would suggest that with that effort, Scotty Gamble was more akin to putting forward his resume for Summernats come the new year, but that's okay. He will move forward. Long race in that second race tonight. We are now up to lap 5. Sun is still out, Jared. I've just had a look at the forecast that was released earlier on, and obviously this race, so for our viewers at home that may not know, even our races that are lap counted, they have to have a time duration. And this race's time duration is 55 minutes, so it's 10 laps or 55 minutes, whatever happens sooner. And the forecast we were given, you absolutely would. But the forecast that we were given indicated clear skies at first, and then a shower, before a little bit of a break in the shower, and then a shower at the back end of that 55-minute period. So I am very interested to see whether that first shower comes inside the time that it takes to complete these next 5 laps. Are we going to see a period, Jared, of 3 laps maybe at the end where it starts raining and drivers have to decide, do they stay out on warm, dry tyres or do they come in and put the wets on and hope that everyone falls off in front of them? I think the fact that it hasn't started raining yet means that drivers will absolutely be thinking about, can I make it to the end if it does start to rain? Of course, based on those durations, there is every possibility that that the rain starts to fall just after the checkered flag tonight.
Yeah, absolutely possible. As we jump up to the battle for second, Rain Campbell is sideways. Almost just a little contact there with Hall. Daniel Hall getting away with it. Sneaks through, a few sparks fly, but no damage done. Rain Campbell drops back to 5th. It's a very, very slow corner. That is, of course, turn 2. Downhill, tight right-hander. And, yeah, just getting a little bit caught up and unfortunately costing Campbell a couple of positions as he tries to recover those. Michael Whiting, meanwhile, in the background has called up to Luke Allman for 6th. They head down the long back straight. This is coming down to, of course, again, Brycer. I still don't get it. I understand and I appreciate it, Andrew. Thank you for the trivia lesson. But geez, did no one think to, I don't know, maybe just run that by a few focus groups? Anyway.
Look, apparently not. Apparently not, but that's okay. They are the Spanish. We are not privy to all of their customs and things like that. I'm sure that us Aussies say a few things that the Spaniards raise.
Oh, here comes the rain.
And look at that, Jared. There we go. The rain has started to fall. We've got 4 laps to go. Who is going to be brave and stay out on dry tyres and try and make this work? This is predicted to be a short shower. I wouldn't be surprised to see the rain stop falling before the end of the race. The difference is, though, Jared, how much water lands on the track. What we're looking for the people at home, we're really looking for any moisture on the track.
Wet.
So look at that, a couple of people straight away getting wet. So what we're looking for is spray coming out behind the cars. Whenever there's no spray, it is 100% faster to be on dry tyres. And even after that, there is still an amount of time where your warm, dry tyres will maintain grip. But of course, once they lose grip, it's basically impossible to drive. And just while I've still got the floor, as Andrew just said, when it rains, it gets even better. It becomes a wet, dry subject.
We're going to have so much fun with this tonight, I'm sure. Law McKee flies past Todd Martin. I'm just going to take a little bit of a peek over here at our telemetry, because I've cut a little of it off myself this evening, which doesn't help, but can confirm Phil Manuel's out on wets. Damon Fisher, Troy Sipple, Jamie McKnight made that switch to wets very early. Peter Sattler's changed to wets, and Craig Rose sitting in, awaiting some repairs still. Is sitting on wets, but I don't know that he's going to get back into it this evening. That might be the bigger question for him, I suspect.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see now drivers have got the wipers on, so there's obviously a little bit more water starting to fall. Still no spray coming off the back of these cars. So
it's just a little under the tyres, but there's not much at all, is it?
Just the tiniest bit. So the track will be getting wetter and wetter. We can start to see it now. There's just a little bit coming up. I still wouldn't call that spray, I guess, Jared. There's just, the tyres are moving just the smallest amount of water. I think that we will see the guys up the front really try and tough it out, and it's going to be a battle to get these cars to the end, there's no doubt about it.
On board with Phil Manuel as he follows Darren Walden. Rick Bygar's going into the pit, so he's thinking about wets as well by the look of it. You can see the car's starting to struggle a bit with grip. Manuel has to correct the oversteer very, very quickly. Have a look at just a few of the puddles starting to form. A little spray now, just coming off the back of Darren Walden's Angry Birds Racing entry ahead.
Look at the lock. Look at how much lock he has to get on to make that car turn, Jared. There's huge amounts of understeer I'm going to be really interested to see how many of these guys battle it out.
It looks like Manuel's going to stick it out, as is Walden. This is interesting. I suppose when you're this far back in the pack, you've got to take a bit of a risk on it, don't you?
Yeah, look, there's not much to lose for these guys. They're, all the way back in 18th and 19th at the moment. There's every possibility, they can trundle around pretty slowly, Jared. If everybody in front of them dives into the pits, they might even snag, a race win. There's just nothing. There's nothing to lose. The worst that happens is they fall off the track with slicks on, and they lose 5 positions, and they go and put wets on. If I was all the way down the back, I'd absolutely be having a crack and trying to tough this out as well.
Out in front, Scott Gamble has made an exceptional recovery from that rather slow start. He's right on Poynton's rear end, battling for second at the moment. Wayne Walker, a second and a half ahead. You can see just a little bit of a gap in it, but Poynton and Gamble, as Gamble goes up the inside, he's going to get that down the front straight, you'd have to think. They're going to be side by side all the way down to turn 1, though. Poynton does have the inside run. It's going to be a bit of a test under brakes. Poynton tries to pull it up. Watch for contact here. These guys have to be very, very careful. All still on dry tyres. You can see the slide from Gamble as he gets on the brakes just a little earlier than he probably has been for the rest of the race. And this is the tough part, having to adapt to these conditions and change your braking markers so late in a race. We're down to the last 2 laps here. Gamble seems to have it pretty well dialed in. Mark Poynton just trying to keep the car on the track at the moment and still retain some kind of pace. We've got a little 4-way battle going on here. Manuel, Fisher, Walden and Sipple all tied in together. Sipple into the side
that was a
of
big,
Walden's car.
brave move.
And I think Walden, into the pits. He'll be looking for wets for the last lap, which is, look, at this point, that's an interesting call. Yeah, I mean, you've got one more lap to go. Why wouldn't you just keep on going?
Look, it is, I guess, Jared, but, the other thing is that a lot of these guys, I with all of the respect in the world, I probably don't have the skill to be running around at the speed on slick tyres in these conditions either. So it's certainly nothing, against any of these drivers, but these cars are hard enough to drive in the wet as it is. Doing it on the slick is really, just that next tier up of skill, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if some of the guys in the mid-pack down just feel like they simply won't get those last 2 laps done. And to be fair, Jared, sometimes it's just far better to avoid the embarrassment. As we see these guys, they don't care that it's wet, Jared. They have absolutely no problem with the fact that it's wet. They are happy to lean on each other. What a battle we have going on here for, what have we got here, 4th and 5th?
Yeah, Brand Campbell and Daniel Hall going at it right through the second half of that lap. You can see the white flags out, so we're on to the last lap. Up front, worth noting that Scott Gamble, I don't know if there's been a bit of a moment for Wayne Walker, but that 2.5 litres evaporated, and Gamble has absolutely closed this up. This is going to come right down to the line here. We've got a few battles going on further back as well, but this one very, very close. On to the last lap. Scott Gamble's still on dry tyres. Wayne Walker's still on dry tyres, so these guys are running on a bit of a knife edge, but they're going to take it all the way to the line. They've still got most of the lap to run here, so plenty of opportunity for Gamble to take a swing. And you see them trying desperately to get the power down on the way out of turn 5. That is,
I do think that was a bit of a hurry up from Scotty Gamble there in the middle of the corner. I think that Wayne Walker will be a little bit upset about that. He appeared to me to get a rub up in the middle of the corner, and then Scott Gamble's capitalised on exit. Not sure how that will be looked at if that is the case, and of course it could have just been that Wayne got a little bit loose on his own. But Scott Gamble has,
at the moment, he's had an issue.
Yeah, Jared, it's so easy to do in these conditions. These cars just so easy. Carried a little bit of extra speed in. I reckon he's going to touch the throttle here, and away he goes. So unfortunate, but considering these guys are driving on a wet track on slicks. But we do now see another battle for the lead. Scott Gamble, Wayne Walker, now they are side by side. And once again,
there goes Gamble. Gamble's around and into the wall.
That is a huge accident. So there is the risk of slicks. He got himself out on the paint and unfortunately put himself straight in the fence. He will try and recover that. He's only got one corner to get through, so he's going to try and get there without cooking the engine, and we'll see where Scotty Gamble ends up dropping to.
Wayne Walker takes the win ahead of Mark Poynton. Scott Gamble, a valiant effort, but unfortunately, just a little too much, and you see him come across the line now. Lots of damage to that car. He'll finish up in 8th. That's, wow, what a place to lose it, though. The damage from hitting that wall, pretty significant. We've still got a couple more cars yet to come through. Simon Farrington crosses the line in 12th. He's up 10 spots. A great drive from Farrington tonight. Damon Fisher, another one who's had an absolute cracker. He's looking to finish in 16th as he looks ahead to his Team AJR teammate in Andrew Johnston. But he's up 11 spots here. Troy Sipple and Phil Manuel coming through right behind. And not much to separate them, but it looks like Sips is going to take this 17th place for the number 17 car ahead of Phil Manuel. Rick Bygar retains the lead over Todd Martin and Jamie McKnight coming home in 21st. Not a great race for him, and I'm not sure that the early change to wets panned out quite as he had hoped. But Wayne Walker, what an opening race for him.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic race, and I'm not sure, Jared, whether Wayne just got a really good drive off a couple of corners to catch back up to Scott Gamble, or whether Scott slowed down just a little bit if there was a touch in that earlier battle. But an absolutely fantastic side-by-side battle coming to the last couple of corners, and unfortunately Scott Gamble just got out on the paint, and we were robbed of seeing a last corner showdown and then drag race to the finish line. But an absolutely fantastic drive from Wayne Walker, Mark Poynton and Daniel Hall for the podium. Slick tyres on a wet track is never easy, and they have done a fantastic job. It was truly impressive. There was a bunch of guys up the front that stayed on those slicks, and they have done a really, really fantastic job, Jay.
As the rain starts to fall, of course, we miss that as the time jumps forward for this next session. Let's take a look at the results from race number 1 here tonight, and Wayne Walker, in the end, taking the win over Mark Poynton as Scott Gamble hits the wall and, unfortunately, does a bit more damage than he would have liked, I'm sure. Daniel Hall picks up a 3rd place ahead of Luke Allman, then Rain Campbell finishing in 5th ahead of Mick Whiting. Andrew Rushworth in 7th, as we said, Scott Gamble in 8th. Ken Latta comes home in 9th for Fishing Motorsports ahead of Mick Clifton, rounding out your top 10. And, of course, for race number 2, the no reverse grid tonight, which is a little bit different, but we'll see how that ends up looking. Ross, thank you so much for stopping by, my friend. Hope you've enjoyed the driving so far, and we will see how it all goes for race number 2, of course. Alistair Bales comes home in 11th ahead of Farrington and McKee, then Dean Logsdale, Andrew Johnston, Damon Fisher and Troy Sipple not too far behind. Phil Manuel, Rick Bygar and Todd Martin rounding out your top 20. As Jamie McKnight comes home in 21st ahead of Ashley Hall. Then Peter Sattler, the last of the drivers to finish on the lead lap. John Latham, Craig Rose and Darren Walden all finishing a few laps down after various issues throughout that race. So, look, not a bad start. Certainly a tricky last few laps there, Josh. Not the sort of conditions you look forward to as a driver.
Well, no. Power sliding cars is always fun.
It's fun,
brings out
for sure.
boon in us though, but not conducive to great racing. But I would say that, Jared, very interestingly, under our time progression, and as you noticed and commented on there, obviously we jumped forward in time, but there's actually another reasonably significant and longer shower due right before the next race. So the next race is due to start under bright sunshine, but right as the rain finishes. So the track will be essentially at its wettest right as we start the next race. So really interesting strategy race coming up. I expect that we'll see our drivers start on wets. They do have 2 compulsory pit stops to take across what is just a 25 lap race. So, still only somewhere in the vicinity of 30 minutes of racing. It's going to be interesting, Jared, to see how long it takes the track to dry out. Obviously, bright sunshine, reasonably warm day at the moment. We've got 28 degree air temp, so beautiful warm summer's day. Nice warm track, but it's going to be the wettest that it is at any point tonight at the very start of the next race, if the weather forecast that I received is correct and up to date. And so I think that what we're going to see is this really, really interesting race where potentially where we often see our drivers split, a longest first stop, take all your fuel, etc., and then you just do the super short second stop. I think we're going to see that reversed. I think we're going to see drivers come in, maybe fill to the end, but do the shortest stop that they possibly can, and then run until the track's dry so they can chuck slicks on for the last bit.
Yeah, it'll be a very, very interesting turn of events, I'm sure, if that comes to pass. Really worth noting, 17 degrees dropping out of the track temp from that bit of rain, so nowhere near as hot as it was. This will be much better conditions if they can find a dry line. As we wait for the warm-up session to finish, we're going to go to a very quick break for some words from our major sponsors. We'll be right back, ready for race number 2. Well, welcome back, folks. It's time for race 2. It's 25 laps this time around Jerez. Wayne Walker and Mark Poynton will be starting on the front row with Daniel Hall and Luke Allman behind them. Then Rain Campbell and Michael Whiting ahead of Rushworth and Gamble. Ken Latta and Mick Clifton round out your top 10. Alistair Bales and Simon Farrington behind them. Then Lorne McKee and Dean Logsdale. Andrew Johnston and Damon Fisher ahead of Troy Sipple and Phil Manuel, Rick Vigar and Todd Martin on the 10th row there as well. We look further back, Jamie McKnight and Ashley Hall ahead of Peter Sattler and John Latham. Then Craig Rose and Darren Walden, with James Hardy down the back. Again, not sure if he's going to be starting this race or not, but we will find out soon enough. We are just about to go racing straight into it for race number 2 here tonight. The lights come up and we are away for race 2. A fantastic start from Walker, pointing a little slow off the line as we head on down again. The track looking, you've got to say, Josh, reasonably dry, considering I don't know that rain has come through, but you can see, have a look at the spray off the tyres. There's definitely some water out there on track somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's probably not as wet as I would have expected. It's not how I interpreted the weather forecast, and I think that some of our drivers will have been caught out as well. The vast majority of the field on wet tyres. Simon Haynes to answer your question, mate, setup is fixed, but the drivers do have the ability to choose whether they run a dry or wet compound tyre, so not able to make any other changes to that setup to accommodate. But we do see, if I have got this correct, it would be Simon Farrington is our highest placed driver on a dry tyre. Everyone else in front of him is on wet, so it'll be interesting to see how Simon goes. There's a couple of others on dries a bit further down the back, Jared, but certainly nowhere near the water that I expected when I saw the forecast. And I think this is going to be now an even more interesting strategy race, because there's probably not the water that we all expected to see. It's going to be very easy to get onto a dry tyre very quickly, but who is brave enough to do it, and also do we kill the wet tyre before the strategy opens itself up to do that?
Yeah, that is the question at the moment, as we've made it through a good portion of this first lap without too much drama. The front four of Walker, Hall, Pointon and Campbell starting to just get themselves set up. Keep your eye on Manuel and Farrington, 14th and 15th, both on dry tyres. I reckon that might come into play a lot sooner than perhaps some were expecting, because it is a big moment there. That's Darren Walden, who's gone around right in front of the camera, and he unfortunately will be at the back of the pack. A bit of a nudge there from Pointon on Campbell. Still, the track is still definitely damp. There's not a huge amount of spray. This should be manageable on dry tyres for Manuel and Farrington. Although it does look like Simon Farrington has gotten caught up in turn 2, so he's dropped a long way down. He's going to have to put those dry tyres to work pretty quickly. Let's check in though. Phil Manuel is running on dries and still looking. Look, you've got to say he's looking reasonably comfortable for the moment. He's not sliding all over the place. And I do wonder how long it'll be before we see the first of these cars come in for that first pit stop. Phil Manuel might be onto a pretty decent strategy here as this track starts to dry out fairly quickly. We're on lap 2 and already the spray, look, it's not dying down massively, but it isn't quite as much as these drivers were probably expecting. You're right.
No, and I think we'll see those guys that are on dries, they will very quickly become the fastest cars on track. Whenever our guys on wets are on, setting the fastest time, then it's a good option for them. But I think that what we see here is a couple of drivers on dry tyres. As we see, Phil Manuel has gone off track and lost a couple of positions, so he's obviously still having some level of struggle. But it's going to very quickly turn into a track that suits the dry tyres, and what we're going to see is those guys that can hold on. They might lose a couple of positions on these early laps, but suddenly they're going to be the fastest car on track, and they're just going to start passing people at will, and really gives them the opportunity to entirely open up their strategy. They're no longer bound by one aspect of the strategy.
There's still plenty of water being flicked up here. Daniel Hall just using the wipers here and there. Big moment though as he tries to get the power down and stick with Wayne Walker. Rain Campbell goes around the outside. What a time to be on board. A little bit of a nudge there as they go side by side into turn 5. Hall just slots in behind Rain Campbell for the run down towards Dry Sack. Look, there's a bit of water still being flicked up. It's not a huge amount. I don't know that these tyres are going to do them much good for very long. To give you an idea of it, the times, in case you missed them on the tower at the end of that lap, 155's up front here. Phil Manuel, a 159.66, so not too far off the crossover point already in terms of times. And when you consider that on a perfectly dry track, these guys are only about 10 seconds quicker than this, these wets are not doing them much favour at the moment.
No, absolutely not. And I do know that we see 50 litres in the tank to start this race, Jared. So not a huge amount of fuel on board. So the first stop won't be all that far away. But the drivers will we'll be hoping that they can clear space in the tank to be able to fill, most of the way home as quickly as possible, so they can get off those wet tyres, because it isn't going to take long, and that is going to switch around.
We'll see the first of the drivers coming in. Stipple making the decision to get those tyres swapped over as quickly as he can. Look at that, a 154.6 for Walker. Ken Latter a 54.4, which is really pushing the limits, you'd have to think, of the wet tyres. Phil Manuel comes across a 55.5. We are basically at the crossover point now. Phil Manuel has an amazing opportunity here to start to really make some gains, and even if he doesn't get the passes done, he is setting himself up beautifully to pick up a whole bunch of spots, as all of these drivers will need to peel in at some point. Scott Gamble and Michael Whiting going at it for 5th. Side by side, Whiting looking to go around the outside, Mark Poynton off in the distance, just watching this happen in the mirrors. Nobody giving any room here at all. Gamble still on the inside, he'll hold control of this corner, and Whiting just needing to pull it up. Big wiggle there under brakes, that's going to send him a little bit deep. So he'll have to slot in behind Gamble before Ken Latter arrives. I think the saving grace there, of course, being teammates, unlikely to get too argy-bargy through there. Lorne McKee gets passed on the inside by John Latham. So still perhaps a little bit of advantage on the wet tyres, with some of those breaking off the main line. But really, the spray almost completely gone behind these cars. Now you can see just a tiny bit off the tyres, but none coming from the aero underneath. We are talking dry lines already.
Yeah, we are, and what I would suggest, Jared, is that regardless of times, Phil Manuel is moving his way forward through the pack. So I think that even if he is setting slower lap times than a couple of guys at the front, yeah, absolutely. It's not going to surprise me at all to see these guys dive in. They will have heard from various people that Phil Manuel is starting to pass people. They can probably see it in their all of their relatives and things like that they watch anyway. And these guys are going to want to be able to put some really quick lap times in on their dry tyre as soon as possible. So not surprising at all to see. We do still see a couple of people out the front who are continuing to trundle around on their wets, but I don't think it's going to be much longer.
Look, with no disrespect to Phil Manuel's pace, he's certainly still quicker than me. Safety car called. Safety car has been called. That's going to change things a little bit. Rick Vigar has gone around somewhere and copped some damage. Didn't see it happen, but Vigar is out there. He's got the meatball. Let's go and take a look, see if we can pick up just what went wrong for Rick Vigar out in front of this pack. Is there any contact here? Under brakes, and big hit into the wall. Spears back out onto the track. And there goes the motor. So Vigar will be absolutely stuck. That's right at the pit entry as well, which makes it a very, very awkward location for the drivers to get around. That was wow.
That was a fantastic piece of driving. Is actually what it was. Interesting, Jared, and I don't know the answer.
Look at this. Everyone's going to spear on in to pits to get these tyres changed. Vigar, though, absolutely stuck right now.
Oh dearie me. One thing that I'll be interested to see, we will see, so there's Phil Manuel, he has come in. So he has got a benefit to some people. He's, but he did not want to see the safety car now, Jared. Everyone's going to be on dry tyres, and he has lost his advantage to starting on dries. What I'm interested to see is whether those who had already pitted come straight back in and have the ability to fill to the end, and they're going to try and do 20 laps on a single set of tyres.
Yeah, look, I think it's the right call for Manuel still. Because
100%, he has to come in.
If he hadn't done that, we've seen it happen so many times already, haven't we? Where, someone who's well placed to just continue and actually end up sitting well ahead just completely stuffs their opportunity to make one of those compulsory stop time a safety car. I think he had to follow them in. It lost him a little bit of an advantage, but at the same time, he's going to potentially have an opportunity here to, and you can see he's made it a very, very long stop. So he's fueled right to the end. He spent 58 seconds in the pit box compared to 10, 11, 12 seconds from most of these other drivers. So he's fueled right to the end. He's got a plan in mind that his next stop is going to be in 1 litre of fuel out.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see there, because 58 seconds is a very, very long stop, Jared. These guys only have a 50% tank capacity tonight, which is somewhere about 66 litres. So that seems like a strange length stop. I'm not sure that all is what it seems there.
I wonder if there was a little bit of repairs being done, perhaps. We didn't see him meatball, but that doesn't mean he wasn't carrying any damage from earlier contacts. We know he ran off the track a couple of times. I hate to think that the Team AJR have, been taken away from a pretty pit entry effect Phil Manuel. I don't think it did. He looked like he got in there fairly cleanly. But we'll see if we can find where he actually dived in. We're going to start to see the wave rounds happen now. So Darren Walden gets waved past the safety car. Effective leader right now is Daniel Hall. So he's out in front at the moment. The iRacing curse strikes again for some of these drivers. Michael Whiting still on wets. Didn't change him over to dries for the pit stop. Lorne McKee still on wets. Jamie McKnight still on wets. Either there's something in the forecast we don't know about, or they have unfortunately forgotten to get that changed when they came into pits. So that's going to cost them.
Yeah, that is interesting, Jared.
And we're getting news here that looks like a 40-second hold for Phil Manuel. So he's crossed the green, got a 40-second penalty. We'll go back and we'll take a look at his pit entry and see if we can pick that one up. Just try and find a good shot here for you folks. Let's take a look at this one.
Talk about devastating though. Not only did he get the safety car when he really didn't want it, but then he also gets a stop and hold. So we see here on entry, there it is there. So he has turned too tight and he will have gotten an unsafe pit entry.
That's rough. I get it, but geez, that's rough.
Well, that's one of those things, I guess, Jared. Unfortunately, it's the same as pit exit. There's all sorts of places all through the world where we have these rules around safety, and you can't cross blend lines on pit exit. You can't cross blend lines on pit entry, and the real world reality of it is that the pit lane is such a dangerous place. People walking around everywhere, so they put all these rules in place around where you can and can't drive, and there is typically absolutely zero tolerance for it.
Yeah, unfortunately for Manuel, absolutely feeling the worst of that there tonight.
Tim Lawson has asked who copped that penalty. That was Phil Manuel that copped that penalty, mate. So, unfortunately for Phil, probably couldn't have, he will not be at all happy with this whole safety car thing. Came at a time when he didn't want it, and then he copped a 40-second penalty. So, probably no worse reality for his pit stop. But anyway, safety car is in this lap. We do get ready to go racing. Daniel Hall now has control of the field, and he will be aiming to get a really good restart over Scott Gamble. It will be interesting to see how he goes about this restart, whether he goes early or backs the field up. And of course, when he does go, is there anything like any sort of team orders to let Scott through if he's faster?
Well, Hall makes the jump right from the start of the final turn there, and tries to get a bit of a jump on. I imagine probably some communication there between Hall and Gamble for the restart, but not able to lose Poynton and Campbell as they make their way around the track again. Behind them, a few little battles already shaping up as drivers start to change a few positions. We've got an absolute flood of Team AJR cars back here. Phil Manuel, Andrew Johnston off the back of Troy Sipple, who's retaining 17th place for his number 17 car at the moment. And then further up, Jamie McKnight getting into it with Dean Logsdale. And Wayne Walker there is in 16th at the moment. Have a look at him looking to make a bit of a move towards the front. So I'm not quite sure how it is that he's lost so much time coming through that pit stop. But he has got his crew done now, because he did make that early stop. So he's had the second stop. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. So Wayne Walker is. He has done exactly what I asked. I theorised at the start of that safety car, Jared. So some of the guys did a pit stop just before that safety car came out. Wayne Walker has come in and done a second. Now here's the thing, Jared. It probably didn't cost him that many positions, to be honest. And even if he doesn't have enough fuel to get home now. He got back out and caught up to the safety car. He's probably only a couple of seconds behind where he would have been, and potentially 10 seconds less stop time than the people he's fighting. This could turn out to be a really, really good strategy for Wayne Walker.
Could do, as we see Lorne McKee diving in to correct his tyre choice and get those wets off the car. Michael Whiting, just ahead of this battle, at the front of this battle, is still on wets. So he's going to be really under the pump here to try and keep pace with the four drivers who are looking to pass him. And Alistair Bales drives around the outside with almost no effort at all. Whiting's going to be losing a lot of pace here, and you'd have to think he'll be coming in shortly to get those changed over. The only other driver left on wet tyres, Jamie McKnight, down in 15th. So he'll be trying to decide on the best time to come in and get those swapped over, but I imagine he'll do his best to absolutely drive them off the car.
Someone in the fence in the background there, Jared.
There is. Just looking for who that is. Is that
White? No, Whiting's going. I have no idea.
Take a look at what's happened there. It looks like that might have actually been Jamie McKnight.
Oh, okay. What I would say, as we see here, so Jamie McKnight
gets squeezed. Contact with the Team AJR entry there. And around he goes.
And unfortunately been hooked. So that looked to me, we were just talking about the fact that Jamie McKnight is on wets. I did a race a couple of weeks ago, Jared, where we started on a wet track, very similar to tonight. It was possibly just a little bit wetter than this track was, and what I found that night was that once the dry tyre was the faster tyre, the rate at which the lap time dropped was incredible. So it was in the space of 5 laps, it went from the wet tyre being the faster tyre to the dry tyre being over 4 seconds a lap faster. It was quite remarkable just how quickly that dry tyre came on. And certainly for those guys that got trapped there on wets, when you are 3, 4, 5 seconds a lap slower than other cars, they are just passing you at will, and it becomes very difficult to stay out of their way.
Phil Manuel picks up a drive-through penalty. Really unfortunate. He was in such a strong position, but that is pretty much enough to end his chances of a top half finish tonight. And a real shame for Team AJR, because Manuel was doing an awesome job out in front. I'm not quite sure what's led to that. Was he the one perhaps that came together with Jamie McKnight? It looks like he was actually. That was indeed Phil Manuel.
Yeah, it's a shame for Phil. When it rains, it pours, and
Simon Farrington.
as we see Farrington, and pulled up in a precarious position. He'll have to be very careful here to re-enter safely. It looks like he's managed to stay out of everyone's way, so that's a good result. But yeah, such a shame for Phil Manuel. He's had a great night. He picked a really good strategy. He toughed it out in the early laps, and unfortunately it fell apart. As we quickly have a look at a replay here to see exactly what happened to Simon Farrington. That to me
looks like
a hardware failure.
Yeah, you don't go towards a wall like that without some kind of hardware failure. I tell you what, no. I don't know what's happened lately, but I feel like over the broadcast we've covered over the last maybe week or two, there seem to be quite a few more hardware issues popping up than we're used to seeing. I don't know if it's coincidental, but it just feels like we're seeing more of them than we've seen at any other time during Simple's existence.
Yeah, possibly. I certainly haven't heard anything around the traps of a
they're not on mass or anything,
for a particular brand. No, it's it is the reality of motor racing, and there's actually, a piece of me, Jared, that finds it quite interesting. We see mechanical failures in motor racing, and hardware failures are our version in sim racing of mechanical failure. It's a reality, and it's a part of life, and it's a part of your own racing.
Yeah, it doesn't make it suck any less. It's just, you've got to look at it in a way that makes it a bit more bearable, and the way to do that is to go, oh yeah. Just it's the immersion, right? The lock up there from Sattler, that's going to cost him a position. Wayne Walker moves through and up into the top 10 again.
Yeah, absolutely. We see Wayne Walker now really starting to move forward. I'm interested to see whether he's got the life out of those tyres to make it all the way home. Obviously, we talked before about the fact that maybe he doesn't have enough fuel, but it'll only be a splash and dash if he needs it. But it's a big, long run on those tyres. On a track that has a lot of corners, so tyre wear is going to be something to consider here tonight, and Wayne Walker is going to be doing quite a bit to keep those tyres alive if he is going to run all the way home. We're not even halfway yet. That's going to come this lap, and Wayne Walker's got a long race in front of him if he wants to move all the way back to the front.
Yeah, still a lot of distance. I mean, you take a look at where he's at right now. On the back of Dean Logsdale, the gap from Logsdale up to Scott Gamble out in front currently sits at 16 seconds. So we're at the halfway point of the race. It means that Wayne Walker, if he wants to get back to the front of this race, needs to gain an average of, just over a second a lap? That is a huge ask.
Yeah, it is, but so I guess the other part of that, Jared, is that everyone's going to do. What we see there, I just held my breath for a moment there, Jared. Nothing too bad came out of that. A second lap is a huge ask, Jared, but there is a pit stop still to come, and of course time can be gained and lost so quickly in those pit stops in the vicinity of multiple seconds. So I think there's still quite a lot to play out. There's still another pit cycle for a number of cars, and there is still a huge amount of strategy at play tonight.
Yeah, I suppose it is worth noting, of course, Wayne Walker has made both his stops. So the 16 seconds or thereabouts doesn't look particularly hard to achieve when you think that most of the field up in front of him will be spending at least another 35-40 seconds minimum in the pits, you'd have to think. So perhaps he is well positioned after all, but a safety car could do all that fairly quickly as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I haven't done the maths, Joe, to know whether Wayne's going to have to, whether he's trying to run on a 3-stop strategy, but if he's on a 2-stop strategy and it works, 16 seconds isn't much when everyone in front of you pits. If he's on a 3-stop strategy, well, in theory, he's got, somewhere in the vicinity of 10 seconds less fuel to get than everyone else, given that he's just done a 10-second stop. So that 16 seconds also isn't all that big.
Plenty of racing still to come, of course. We're only at about the halfway point And watching Mark Poynton and Ken Latta battling it out for 4th place. Latta is just following Poynton's every move at the moment. They're both on pretty much identical fuel loads, identical tyres. Both came in under the safety car, so this is about as evenly matched as it gets for a driver v driver battle. Plenty going on elsewhere in the field though. Todd Martin has been trying to close in on Team AJR's Andrew Johnston, and gets close but doesn't quite have the pace to put a move on yet. Has been just floating around though, fairly tight on the rear bar of Johnston's Mustang. About half a second separating them at the moment. Right now, throughout the rest of the field, fairly well spread out. Actually, a lot of drivers finding themselves in a lot of space, which is a little unusual. You don't tend to see that, but of course, Jerez is it's a reasonably long track, and does offer an opportunity to maintain some distance. We get back to the front straight. Alistair Bales now has Wayne Walker, who'll be looking for the move into turn 1. Walker can't quite get there, but he'll set up for turn 2.
I don't think Wayne Walker is going to be hanging around. He was 0.8 faster on that lap, and he's a whole second faster on his best lap. I don't think that Wayne will be waiting all that long for Alistair to move over. As we see here, a huge look up the inside there from Andrew Johnson. It looks like he made that stick. He's got the inside run into turn 2, so that's a big brave move, and he managed to get it stuck, Jared.
Yeah, Todd Martin almost got the pass done, but Johnston getting the inside line, he's managed to hold on to that position at least for another couple of corners before Martin has another crack at it. And Johnston just throwing the car around to try and break that little bit of slipstream that Martin's trying to take advantage of. Here we go, the run down the long straight. You see them just crest the hill in the background. This is a long run down before a very heavy braking zone. What is interesting to me is that I haven't seen many of these drivers actually use the full width of braking available there into dry sack. You can actually quite comfortably sit the left tyres on the left side of the ripple strip and get on the brakes. But something tells me if these guys aren't doing it, it's probably not worth the effort.
I think you're probably just about right there, Jared. Having not driven around here, I can't make any personal comments, but yeah, these guys are usually pretty quick to work out the fastest way around the track, that's for sure.
Yeah, look, I pulled my experience when I got in the car from the last time I drove Jerez, which was probably 12 plus months ago, to be fair, and it was in an F4. So the optimal lines for an F4, unsurprisingly, probably a little bit different as Whiting gets past Todd Martin and gets across the line just ahead. Todd Martin at some point there has made the move past Johnston, or a big lockup is going to cost him some pace out of turn 1. But, yeah, it's really interesting to see though. Peter Sattler just coming out of the pits behind Lorne McKee. So he's made his second stop now. Most of the field have made their second stop. The front six have not. Neither has Alistair Bales. Wayne Walker sitting in 7th, the leader of those who have made both stops. Peter Sattler on fresh tyres has caught Lorne McKee in rapid time. And he looks like he's just about ready to get underway and take the spot off him at this pace.
Yeah, absolutely. Those fresh tyres will be doing wonders for him.
Sorry to cut you off there, Josh, but
yes, I know. I can see what you're saying.
You can actually use, if memory serves, you can actually use all of that blue painted area. I might have to check in on that, but I know that it certainly opens that corner up a fair bit. It may just be that the supercars don't have the turn in, as we all know, to make it worthwhile. But these guys,
they may also be braking so early that it's actually more difficult to get it across when you can. I'm not 100% sure, but these guys are usually pretty savvy to that sort of stuff. So I'd be surprised if there's not a good reason for it.
Yeah, that's what I find so interesting, because even my braking point isn't until about 10 or 15 metres onto that blue section where it widens up there. There's a white line across it, and that's sort of about the latest that I've got the cojones to brake into that turn. Sattler can't quite get there with all the kit. He's going to have a big look up the inside here into turn 1. This could be it. Sattler, nice fresh tyres. They're up to 10. Makes it look easy in the end. Gets the drive down and away he goes. Just up
absolutely. Ahead. Sorry, Jared. We do now move to the battle for 14th. Battle for 13th, actually. These guys are now in range of Todd Martin, but Nick Clifton and Andrew Johnson are really having a look at each other, and this is shaping up to be a nice little battle.
Might just while we've got the opportunity, take a look at this braking point here, and probably not the best, but I'm actually surprised at how early these guys are braking for this turn, and it's got me questioning everything I was doing in my laps, honestly, because I really think you can get the braking done a lot later. It just goes to show though how much underdriving these cars really can benefit your pace overall. They are not designed to be chucked into a corner in the same way that a lot of cars are here on iRacing.
Absolutely not, and it's certainly something that I find myself doing, Jared. It's you push and push and push on your brake markers to see where you can get the car pulled up, and then when you find that very, very last moment, you typically then come back 10, 15 metres and start to underdrive the car and get it pulled up before the corner, all that sort of stuff. We see here Rushworth and Todd Martin having a nice sort of battle, and Todd Martin ends up out in the kitty litter on the outside that has been dragged onto the track. Moving forward though, the battle for 9th is heating up. Sipple and Ladder are absolutely going at it, with Ken Ladder running all the way around the outside. He may have fresher tyres on because he has just driven the long way around and made it stick, Jared. That is a fantastic move.
9 laps fresher, his tyres, and it shows.
That will do it.
Getting his second stop done under the safety car. But he's trying to drive all the way at the end here. Ken Ladder, significantly fresher tyres. He's only just gone past the best of the tyre life in those first couple of laps at this point. So he's likely to pull away. Hats off though to Sips. He's running a good race. He's had a good couple of rounds the last couple that just haven't quite worked out for him. As Scott Gamble comes in for the second stop now, Daniel Hall, Rain Campbell, and I expect Mark Point will probably follow in. So Sipple regains P9. Ladder just pushing perhaps a little too hard. As I said, Troy Sipple, he's had a good couple of weeks, but hasn't quite managed to put all of the pieces together to finish up the top end. Tonight could be his night. We'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's these cars are so finicky that it takes all of the right parts of the recipe to have those good results. It's not enough just to drive well. You've got to have a little bit of luck and a couple of things go your way as well. So Sips has been driving well, and as you said, just not quite having the things all fall into place for him. But Ken Ladder now having gone off and given Sips just a brief moment of hope that he won't in front of him. He is now head back down and moving forward, and very quickly this is going to turn into a battle with Poynton. I think there's a lap car in the middle, but we'll see whether Sips can keep that 7th place dream alive at the moment.
How's this for a battle going on? As always, it's great to see Angry Birds and Quantum getting into it. Darren Walden, his first drive here with the ASR Supercar Series all season, but decided to get in on it tonight by the look of things. Craig Rose mixing up with him for 21st, only a few tenths separating them. Walden seems to have just a little more pace, which is surprising because Rose is on some fairly fresh tyres, only a few laps in. Goes very, very deep on the brakes, so that's going to cost him a lot of time, a lot of pace, and Walden's going to just waltz away up the front straight as we jump forward, because Mark Boynton already has gotten past, I believe it's Damon Fisher back there, and wrapped up Troy Sipple in short order. Pointing not hanging
Yeah,
around either.
No, Mark Poynton's obviously a man on a mission. He is. If we have a look here, Mark Poynton, he did only pit 2 laps ago, so he is absolutely nice fresh tyres and a man on a mission. And we do see Jared, our man Wayne Walker, he is all the way out the front. Alistair Bales still only completed 1 pit stop, so Alistair is just a little bit out of position. Dean Logsdale, 7 seconds off the lead, is the second runner who has completed 2 stops. Or eight seconds off the lead, actually. So it will be interesting to see. There's 6 laps to go. Wayne Walker's been out there for a long, long time on those tyres. Can he make it work?
A little disappointing there to see Dean Logsdale jump out of the way of Daniel Hall and Scott Gamble. I get why he's done it, because the ERT entry is very, very quick. And you see them just start to walk away from Logsdale already, but I don't know. I would have made him work for a bit more than that, Dean. I get it though, mate. I get it. No judgment. I wouldn't be able to keep up with you, much less the ERT entries. So
yeah, look,
I should probably just stick in my box, really.
When you look at it, it looks like Dean completed his second pit stop on lap 4. So
he's going to be feeling it now, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That was what I was going to say. The two ERT guys, they came in on lap 17. It's probably just not worth that battle. There is definitely an aspect of racing, Jared, where you really need to know the people that are racing, and it's not always just the car that's behind you that is the one that you're actually racing in. And it's an important skill to be able to assess how hard you should fight. And Dean Logsdale obviously knew that it was more damaging for his race to try and battle than to just move over. But importantly, on our screens, the battle for 13th. As we see there, Lorne McKee has absolutely lit the rear tyres up. He'll be hoping not to do that too much. But we do see these guys in a genuine battle. Sattler having a think about looking at the inside, but three of our very prominent, easy to identify teams. Lorne McKee straight down the inside. He did not wait for a second invitation. That door was only open ever so slightly. Lorne McKee saw the light on and absolutely kicked that door in. He said, I know that's unlocked and I am coming through.
You saw Todd Martin there dive out of the way as well, so as not to get taken out. Mark Poynton wraps up Ken Ladder, as Ladder has just passed Dean Logsdale only moments earlier. Poynton absolutely cracking pace at 1:45.37 on his last lap. To put that in comparison, Scott Gamble and Daniel Hall just up ahead, who are swapping positions back and forth, ran 1:45.3 and 1:45.4 for Gamble and Hall respectively. So Mark Poynton right on pace with second and third place at the moment. Ken Ladder a little bit off just with the older tyres, as we see John Latham and Peter Sattler side by side. Latham forces Sattler out wide, but Sattler holding that position, not letting him take it just yet. Going to have to drop him behind. Can't stay with him in this corner. Again, slightly fresher tyres for Latham. He's only 4 odd laps into it. Sattler probably just starting to hit the worst of the drop off in those tyres now, as they reach about 6 or 7 laps old for him. And certainly the weather conditions here, nothing like the end of race 1. It's a very different proposition for these drivers here tonight.
No, absolutely, and these guys are getting the best of the track conditions for the end and making the very most of being able to race as quickly as possible.
Look at Latham just waltz past Todd Martin. I don't know if Martin had an issue into the final turn and just didn't have the pace across the line, but a very slow one. It looks like he must have had a problem. 1:51 on that lap, so I suspect it was probably in that final turn. But Latham he's on the move. He's up 11 positions into 13th place from the start of this race. So he's on track to be one of the better finishers. Troy Sipple, though, also up 11 at the moment, although he's got to hold off Dean Logsdale for another few laps if he wants to hold on to P6. This has been a great race from Sips. It's good to see. It's well deserved. He's been working on this. I spoke to him late last week, actually, just about how he's been racing and how he's been feeling out there. And look, if he can hold together for just a few more laps, he's going to be absolutely cheering with this result.
Yeah, it's always nice. It is always nice to get a good result and have a good race out on track. So Sips will be doing everything that he can to enjoy these last couple of laps and hold that position. He does have Dean Logsdale behind, who is on incredibly old tyres. So hopefully he has the pace to stay in front. Importantly, though, up the front, Jared, Wayne Walker, last lap, 47.3 against a 46.2 for Scott Gamble. So Scott Gamble coming home at the rate of about a second a lap. It was 0.9 of a second a lap before, 1.1 this one. So he's gained 2 seconds in the last 2 laps. This is going to be a very, very close finish, Jared.
Martin Sattler going at it down the front straight. Todd Martin seems to be struggling a little bit with his pace out of that final turn. Peter Sattler sends it up the inside, a little bit of a wiggle, can't quite get it pulled up, lucky not to charge into the rear quarter of Todd Martin's Mustang. But, Sattler looking for the break here.
You notice there Sattler's car moving around under acceleration, so Sattler's absolutely trying everything that he can to make that pass work, but unfortunately, as he looks now, another look down the inside, a big move into this long right-hander, and he's got the inside line, so he should make it work as he drops off the top of the hill there. Nice little run down to your favourite corner on the track, Jared, and that pass has been done. Provided that he can keep it clean, he should be able to hold that position now.
Fairly easy in the end as we jump forward now. John Latham finds himself in the middle of Lon McKee and Mick Clifton, the two Accelerate Sim Racing entries in 11th and 13th. Latham now up 12 positions into 12th, so he's halved his position from the start. And isn't quite done yet. I reckon he'll be looking to wrap up Lon McKee here. Worth keeping an eye just on the gap there for Sips and Logsdale, because they're both on very old tyres. Sips on tyres from lap 5 to Dean Logsdale's lap 4, so they're both really getting the most value out of the tyre sponsorship tonight, running them right down to the cords. As we get into lap 23 of 25, just a couple remaining here before we see the checkered flag for the last time tonight.
Sips and Logsdale, they will be absolutely battling, Jared, and their steering wheel will feel lighter than you can imagine. We understeer everywhere. That'll very quickly turn into oversteer. They will be having a genuine battle, and it's great to see a couple of guys trying something a little bit different, and hopefully getting rewarded with a nice finishing position because of it.
Yeah, we'll keep a close eye on it. Dean Logsdale looks as though he's actually started to come under attack here from Nick Whiting, who almost sends it up the inside. Phil checking into the chat, got 2 of them. Tell me you don't mean 40-second stop and holds, Phil. Oh, it looks like he might have actually had 2 stop and holds for crossing that green paint on the pit entry. That is not a great night, mate. You had a fantastic start to it. That was a pleasure to watch, and unfortunately just didn't come together for you. Michael Whiting almost thinking about a dive there. Logsdale struggling hard. Whiting's tyres only about 5 laps newer, but that can make all the difference here at this late stage of the race. I don't think that Logsdale's going to be able to hold him much longer.
These supercar tyres, Jared, we've talked a lot about how quickly the pace falls off at the start of the stint. As we see there, it looks like Farrington's either made a mistake or he has just pulled up to let McKnight through. But these tyres, Jared, they fall off really quickly at the start of a stint, and then they plateau for quite a long time. And they're really quite nice for, a decent amount of driving, but then suddenly they hit another cliff, and once they're dead, they are gone, and all pace just falls out of the car. So that 4 or 5 laps difference for Whiting versus Logsdale and now Sipple in front of him, that may be all of the difference that he needs. He might be still in that, the back end of that nice period, and his car won't be feeling great, But there is every possibility that Logsdale's car is really feeling, genuinely bad. Wayne Walker, though, talking about guys that have been on their tyres for a long time, Wayne Walker, he has a best time this race, Jared, of a 46.6 compared to a 45.2 for Gamble and a 45.3 for Hall. Wayne Walker has driven to a lap number and he has just punched in a 46.9. He has gone only 0.3 slower than his fastest lap on tyres that he has been racing on for 19 laps. He has, by the look of it, driven a race all about tyre preservation and now has the tyres to fight with to make sure that he holds that lead.
If anyone wonders why he's up the top end of the championship, that should tell you all you need to know. That is just insanity. To think that he's putting in laps that are that quick on tyres that old. It just blows my mind. It really does.
It may have only been a one-off lap that he had in him. He has immediately come back to a 47.4.
I mean, it's still not slow either. As we see the white flag out.
It's a second slower as we see Logsdale off track again, so his tyres are giving up on him. There's no doubt about that. Sips is going to have a battle. There was some serious smoke signals up the front. I'm not sure exactly who it was, but we will see here Whiting is going to close this gap up to Sipple very, very quickly, and we'll see whether he has the ability to hold him off. There was well over a second difference in lap pace last lap, Jared. There's only half a second between them. This looks like it's going to be the best battle on this last lap. I think that Wayne Walker's done what he needs to do to secure the win as long as he keeps the car on track. But Michael Whiting is going to get to the back of Troy Sipple. The only question is, does he get there with enough time left to get the pass done? Look at how far he catches up under brakes. There is no doubt about the amount of additional braking power that he has. All of that extra rubber is doing him wonders. It's only a couple of laps, but it's an important couple of laps, Jared. We see there again, Sipple misses the apex. He does not have the rubber under him to put the car where he wants. He doesn't defend. He does turn in early, but no real defensive line. Sipple taking the decision, Jared, that running the proper racing line is the fastest way. We see Wayne Walker takes the checkered flag in front of Scotty Gamble. I forgot the first name there. Hall rounds out our Daniel Hall. I was going to call him Damon. I knew that wasn't the case.
The final turn, he lock up from Whiting. Sips is going to get home in sixth.
It's a fantastic drive from Sips. He's done a fantastic job. And a great race there from Whiting to try and get up onto the back of him. Luke Allman and Rushworth, who get in on the act late in that lap to really give us a nice little battle to the end. Logsdale has battled all the way through to round out the top 10, Jared.
Nick Clifton and Simon Farrington now only a tenth separating as they come to the last couple of corners. Clifton looking for a way past Farrington, making that car as wide as he possibly can. He's going to defend hard into the final turn. Clifton's going to have to go around the outside. Oh, so close to contact there. Farrington forcing Clifton out very, very wide, leaves just enough space. This is going to be a run-to-line contact there, but that's going to be just enough for Farrington to stay in front. The control line a long way back. It's actually just about underneath this camera here, and Farrington holds on just barely for P16. What a drive, though, out in front for Wayne Walker. Another dominant week for him. Scott Gamble, Daniel Hall from ERT rounding out the podium, and Mark Poynton in fourth was an absolute cracker as well. As we go to the race results, we'll have a chat to our race winner in just a moment, but this is how it looked at the end of 25 laps here at Jerez. Wayne Walker takes the win by almost 3.5 seconds over Scott Gamble, then Daniel Hall and Mark Poynton behind them. Ken Latta in fifth. Troy Sipple takes sixth position. He will be absolutely stoked with that result. Michael Whiting in seventh, ahead of Luke Allman in eighth. Andrew Rushworth for Accelerate Sim Racing takes ninth, and Dean Logsdale manages to limp it home in 10th position, which, considering how long he was out there on those tyres, is not a bad effort at all. John Latham takes 11th ahead of Vaughan McKee, then Sattler and Martin ahead of Jamie McKnight. Simon Farrington just barely holds off Mick Clifton in the end. Alistair Bales crosses in 18th ahead of Andrew Johnston. Darren Walden rounds out the top 20. Then Rick Vigar and Damon Fisher ahead of Craig Rose and Ashley Hall, with Rain Campbell 9 laps down, and Phil Manuel not having the night that he would have hoped for, calling it quits with 11 laps still to run. A great set of results all around as we take a look at what this might mean for the championship, and we'll wait to see if we can get a driver or two in here to have a bit of a chat to us about the results. I know they're a little reclusive, but they're also, getting out of the car as well, and probably a well-earned drink after that one. Even for Wayne Walker out in front, Josh, I reckon that was probably fairly tough going.
Yeah, absolutely. It's often harder, Jared, to drive slow than it is to just drive to the limit of the car. So, it was a different kind of race, I think, for Wayne Walker. I think when we talk to him tonight, he will mention the fact that he was tyre saving. It was really, that's an impressive drive. That takes a lot of effort and a lot of skill to be able to circulate at a predetermined pace to try and maximise the performance of your tyres, as opposed to just driving the car and seeing what happens with the tyres, later on in the race.
Well, let's get some feedback on that one. We go to third place. Daniel Hall, welcome to the booth, mate, and what a drive. Congratulations on the podium.
Thank you very much. That was great fun.
A bit of an interesting start with obviously a fairly damp track. Most of the field starting on wet, so perhaps negating the difference a little bit. But looking back on it, do you wish you'd started on the dries?
No, I did it in the practice. I did a quick test in the wet with the dry tyres, and that was like an ice rink. No chance. And I thought, well, we've got to do 2 CPS anyway, so might as well start on the wets, stay up the front or near the pointy end if I can, and then come in early if needed. But the safety car timing was pretty good for us. And then stayed on the dries and had a heap of fun.
Well, it certainly did look like a lot of fun out there. Some quick times that we saw all night. How did the tyres actually hold up once you did get onto the dries?
Do you know what? On the first stint of the dries, my rear tyres were starting to really let go. And Rain behind me was monstering me. And he'd obviously looked after his tyres a lot better than I did. I had my brake bias wound back a bit for the wet, and I didn't really wind it forward much. So I'm assuming that that's probably what contributed to it. Fortunately for me, it was time to come in and do the final pit stop anyway. Towards the end of that last stint, it was fine. It was pretty good overall. I noticed the track temp really got up after the rain. Got quite hot, which made it quite interesting.
Mate, we talked about the track conditions in that race. Obviously, we saw the rain come late in race 1. Tell us what it was like at the back end of race 1 there, trying to keep everything together on a track that was just getting wetter and wetter.
I was actually worried for my wheel that it was going to overheat, my direct drive wheel. No, in all seriousness, it was just a constant seesaw. Just turn in, correct, because it was so slippery with the slick tyres. But geez, that was fun. That was a lot of fun having that variable weather. I think iRacing's done a bang-up job with this wet weather, especially on a drying track. Working out when's the right time to come in and have that crossover period. I think they've done that exceptionally well, and it made for a lot of good, interesting racing, that's for sure.
Okay, quality result for you tonight, both for yourself individually and for ERT. Congratulations. We'll let you get back to it, but anyone you want to say hello to while you're here or give a shout out to for the results tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, all the guys at ERT, guys and girls. We've got some female drivers in ERT as well. And for the vets guys, we've done a bit of practice in the vet session in preparation for tonight and for vets. Just a great bunch of lads. We just have a good time. And yeah, shout out to Logitech G and Max Pappas Industries, OG Gear. Yeah, thanks for all the support.
Dan, a great race to watch tonight. Congratulations. We'll let you get back to it.
Thanks, lads.
Dan Hall there gets P3. We'll bring his teammate in, Scott Gamble. Welcome back to the booth. Bit of an interesting couple of races tonight, wasn't it?
Yeah, how you going, guys? It was, wasn't it? It was really good fun, the way that they set that up with a little bit of rain and moisture, drying, hot temperatures. It had everything. It was really good.
Yeah, not something we get to see very often. I must admit, we tend to see, you know, either absolute downpours or perfect conditions, and not a lot in between. Obviously, with the result tonight, you've adapted pretty well to it. Anything in terms of strategy that didn't play out the way that you kind of hoped it would, though?
Oh, well, yeah, getting a 5-second penalty when I sent it up the inside of Rehan didn't help my cause. You know, so, and then obviously, you know, I spun it, you know, which I was just talking to Wayne about. I said, did you really push me out wide, you know, that second last turn? Yeah, he's like, oh, I thought I gave you a bit more room. But you know, it's like you're on slicks, it's raining. As soon as you hit those ripples and get on the Astro, you're pretty much around. But yeah, that's still on me. I still spun it then. So that didn't work out, eh? Like, guys, you know, wasn't going to script. But after that, you know, we just knuckled down, and he sort of got lucky with that safety car where he got able to get in and pit twice under it. So, you know, congratulations to Wayne. He drove a really good race and a good strategy and created his own luck, which is what sometimes you got to do, you know?
Hey, I'll take luck over skill any day myself, because I certainly find myself a little short on the skill department all too often. Not a problem for you tonight, though, Scott. Another quality result, again, individually and for ERT, with two drivers taking a podium position here in race number 2. Daniel Hall, obviously, giving a bit of a shout out to sponsors, but we'll hand it to you as well before we let you go. To say thanks to who you want to.
Yeah, isn't it great to see two ERT cars back up on the podium there? I mean, Dan drove absolutely amazing. So is Pointing. He's been, you know, I mentioned him last week. He's driving really well and Rehan, he's just a class driver. We know that. But yeah, well done to Wayne, you know, for his drive tonight. He drove exceptionally well and well deserving of his wins. Yeah, and I just want to thank the admin, you know, of this league. Like, I know we butt heads on a few things, and I know that I don't always agree, and I'll say what I say, and I'll wear me heart on the sleeve, you know, and I'll say it where other people won't. But they done something a little bit different here tonight, and I think they actually they won with it. Like, I reckon it's a really good idea. They chose to be a bit brave and bold with it, and it was really good fun as a driving point of view, and I hope it was for commentators, for you guys, and for those watching at home. Yeah, because it was really good fun, and I look forward to having more races like that. So kudos to the organisers of the series. Well done.
Well, Josh, I don't know about you, but mate, I thought that the drying track, particularly in race 2, was an absolute cracker, wasn't it?
Nah, absolutely, mate. Changing conditions, you know, real life conditions provide a lot of fun for spectators, for commentators, for drivers alike. I can tell that you had a great night tonight, Scott. Shame about that race 1 result, but must have been a heap of fun out there hooning around on track on some slicks tonight. So congratulations, mate, on another good night. Enjoy having a debrief with your teammate. Two cars on the podium's a fantastic result.
Yeah, thanks, guys, and yep, will do. Cheers.
Got a gamble there, taking out P2, and look, honestly, this man, he's almost unstoppable at this point. You've got to think, but we'll find a little bit of a weak point somewhere, I'm sure. Wayne Walker, welcome back to the booth. Congratulations on another pretty dominant night tonight. Was it as easy as it looked from our position?
No, it definitely wasn't easy. The first race, you know, near the end there when it started to rain, the track was just so slippery, and Gamble was able to get in front of me, and then he made a little bit of a mistake, and I got back up the inside of him, and yeah, held on for the win in that one. But then that second race, that was all strategy. Pitting early, and then the safety car coming out on my outlap, so I was able to get my like both of my compulsory pit stops done straight away. Then it was just had to fuel save a little bit, but I thought they were gonna get closer to me at the end because I had pretty worn tyres, but was able to hold on for the win.
It's interesting you say, Wayne, about fuel saving. So we theorised on a bunch of stuff during the race. I noticed your lap times were down, pretty significantly over some of the other guys from a peak lap speed. It was obvious that you weren't driving to the absolute edge of your ability. How much did tyre saving come in to your equation versus just fuel saving, or did you couple them hand in hand, or were you pretty comfortable that the tyres had plenty of life to get all the way to the end?
No, because I was fuel saving, so I was sort of short shifting going up gears and things like that. I was saving the tyres as well. So when I had saved enough fuel that I could push to the end, the tyres were still reasonable, but yeah, by the end they were pretty ordinary.
And mate, a fantastic result across both races. Must have been hard in mouth at the back end of that first race though. Slick tyres, wet track. You alluded to it, a big battle with Scott Gamble. Everything looks reasonably composed from the outside, but how close? Was there any moments there in that first race that nearly ended in disaster?
Oh, I think when it started raining, it was so unpredictable. You come to a corner and you're not sort of knowing what to expect, and there was a few moments where there was a little bit more wheel spin than I would have liked, and that, but yeah, it was just, I don't know, just trying to keep it on the track. That was it, really.
Oh, mate, another dominant display. We are now well and truly in the back end of this season. I think you are, you are putting yourself in the best possible position to secure another championship. That number one is looking mighty fine on the side of your car, and a couple of tough races to go, but you are doing everything you need to do. So congratulations on another fantastic night. Before we do let you go and debrief with the team, we will give you the opportunity, as always, to give a shout out to anyone that you would like to.
Yeah, just same as always, everybody who helps run the league, you guys for the broadcast, amazing job every week. My team, Accelerate Sim Racing, all my teammates for all their help as well. All the other competitors, same thing, without them it's not possible. Congratulate Scott and Dan on P2 and 3. Our sponsors, Abby Timmer, Probable Wheels, Box and Lock Narang, and Modern Deck. Yeah, that's about it. Okay, thank you.
What I would say, Jared, is it's probably Wayne's to lose. So, I think the person that holds the key to stopping Wayne Walker is Wayne Walker. There's a lot of points available every week. These are hard cars to drive. Wayne drives them very, very well. But there's a couple of other people that drive them very, very well. And, something going wrong, a couple of bad races, it's unlikely. I'll happily put my hand up and admit that. But, I think it's all to lose for Wayne, and he's doing a bang-up job. I think that everyone else will be, thinking that they're ominous signs, but, it's going to be an interesting end to the season no matter what.
It absolutely will. I fear that I may have just been speaking to myself there, folks, so I apologise if you've just heard silence while I've been yammering away. Wayne Walker, after those results, look, he's extended that gap out in front. Obviously, there's some drop rounds to consider in this, but the movement here from the likes of Ladder Point and Ormond Rushworth getting in amongst it as well. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out with the drop rounds. A couple of names missing tonight. Jamie Dyke not here. Matt Vanderkraan not around. Barg's not racing tonight. It's going to cause a bit of movement in the standings. So looking forward to checking these out at the start of next round. But that'll just about do it here from the south of Spain tonight. Circuit Jerez has delivered in spades, and we heard from a couple of the drivers there just how much they've enjoyed the conditions here tonight. So I hope the league admins here at Alliance Sim Racing are sitting up and taking note of that and just considering for a few more, because I would love to see a whole bunch more of that. Josh, I don't know about you, but I'm always keen for a bit of changing conditions, not the extremes that we tend to see in iRacing setups.
No, absolutely. I will be the first to admit that I am a big believer in real world conditions, Jared. I would, if it was me, I would be matching this as close as I possibly can to the actual conditions on the day at the racetrack. I really hope that the drivers do get behind that, and that the admin, take that on board. It's just another level of variety, and the fact that we've seen Matt Vanderkraan dominate, we're now seeing Wayne Walker in a period of domination. I think that conditions like tonight, Jared, really do absolutely just throw that in the air. And these guys are very, very good at what they do. But throwing all these different conditions at them really just throws up more opportunity for different people to stick their hand up and say, hey, in these conditions, this is my go. So I can't wait. We'll see what happens. No matter what, regardless of the weather, Jared, I can't wait for next week.
Next week, the first and only time we're visiting an Australian track this season, we will find ourselves at, of course, Shell V-Power International Motorsport Park. None other than the Bend on 12th of August. It's one I've been looking forward to all season. It's a track that I personally love, and I cannot wait to see these guys chuck a supercar around there. I know, Josh, you've given it a shot, and it was pretty challenging from what you've told me.
It is. It's a really challenging track. It's also a lot of fun. It took me a while to get in the groove of it. I didn't like it at first. I put in the laps, and I really started to enjoy it. Lots and lots of interesting little elevation changes, lots of little cheeky traps, Jared. There's everywhere you look and turn, there is a place that you can make a mistake. It provided really good quality racing is probably the important thing. I think that for all of us, there's a soft spot for Australian tracks. So I can't wait to be there, and can't wait to be on a track that I am more familiar with, and excited to see how these guys go about it.
And if you're watching at home thinking that sounds like a great time, then make sure you do subscribe so you don't miss any of the action and get those alerts coming through. We'll be back with another Simple Racing broadcast over on the Simple channel on Thursday night, when the Formula Drivers League F4s take to the track once again. But of course, we'll be back with the ASR V8 Supercar Series next Tuesday night as we head to the Bend for what is sure to be a lot of fun. Until next time, do make sure you look after yourselves. It is from everyone here. Goodbye for now.